Hi, it's Jasmin. You know, that girl who did you-know-what way before the internet ever existed. Join me and my special guest every week as we talk about anything and everything because nothing is too taboo. So punch your ticket and get on board the Krazy Train with me, Jasmin St. All aboard! Welcome to a brand new week of Krazy Train Podcast. And as you know, I love bringing you guys the most intriguing guests from around the world, whether it's Scotland, Australia, Loch Ness, I don't know. I just bring them to you. So this week's guest is one of my coworkers from Bleeding Gums Wrestling. He's one of the most intriguing characters because he's like a British cowboy. So without further ado, here's Mr. Tim Strange. Thank you so much for joining me, Tim. I think like your whole cowboy gimmick, being a cowboy from Newcastle, sort of caught my eye. What's your fascination with cowboy culture?
Well, I grew up in Newfoundland in Canada, which is very country-esque. It's small communities, very rural areas. And then I moved to Calgary when my family moved to Calgary when I was a teenager. And then I moved, and then obviously Calgary is very cow country, cow town, very westernized. But for me, it was all sort of what really got me in the Cowboys was sort of the Terry Funks and the Stan Hansens and stuff like that. I always enjoyed country music. I spent a lot of time living in Texas. So there as well, you pick up the cowboy hat collection, the cowboy boots, because it's common wear there and things like that. And I just enjoyed the culture and the westernization of it. And then when I moved to England, it was sort of there was not really a lot of cowboys here. So I thought what you ought to stand out is if you're a cowboy, and being from Canada already, I stood out and I could be a cowboy that's actually from North America. So that's sort of why I went down that route. Plus I'm a massive fan of Stan Hansen and
Really?
Terry Gordy and Terry Funk, people like that. I sort of grew up watching. They're very cowboy as well, being from southern states in Texas. So that's what I love, the south of America. So anything barbecue and cowboy and country music is good for me. So that's where the cowboy fixation came from.
I think you got to open up your own barbecue in the UK.
I would love to, but you can't get the spices here. So I get some of my buddies will send me over stuff from Texas, and it's very, very nice when you smoke the meat properly and do it properly. But he says, one, it's finding the time here, and two, you can't get the regular. You can get good cuts of meat here, good cuts of beef and things like that, but you cannot get the spices and herbs and things like that you can do from Texas and stuff like that. So it's harder to do, but I would love to open up a barbecue place or even a van where I could just drive around and sell a barbecue out the back of a van. That would be good. I would enjoy that. So that's one of the many things I would like to do is own a barbecue van. I think I would eat a lot of the profits, but what's the benefit of having your own barbecue van if you can't eat your weight in meat every day?
Hey, well, I had a friend who had a really successful restaurant, and he said his family would never go hungry. About 3 years later, they shut down. I think they were like legit eating the sushi out of there. It was so good, like to die for. Now, you just pulled your hair out of your head for a second.
Yeah.
You don't seem like a deathmatch wrestler because your forehead does not
No,
look like an Asian street map.
It doesn't. It's normally I use gusset plates and things like that, and I do it higher up, so it's in
Oh, God.
in here. So it's a lot of it's stuck in there. So I've just did one on Saturday, so there's like the scabs and stuff there, but it tends to heal up pretty quick once you get stuff on it and do that. I'm not really. I think a lot of the cuts and stuff like that will come from the blades and the light tubes and things like that. Where I just tend to use more convenient methods like gusset plates and stuff like that. I'll probably collect a few soon enough. There'll be people that do it. I'm happy to. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean anything to me. I'm already good looking enough. I can afford a few scars and things like that, I guess. So but for me, it's always the gusset plates. I enjoy them. They're a lot nice. They're nice. They're good. It's a good feeling.
Those things get me so squeamish. Like, I'm extremely squeamish around blood. Isn't that crazy? But yet I have no problem
Just a bit,
working with
just a
death
bit, just
matches.
a bit crazy. No, I think that's it. Like I don't mind blood itself in the deathmatch arena, but if I was in the street and someone started gushing blood, I'd probably be like, but in the deathmatch world, I wouldn't. It wouldn't phase me. I think it's because you know the people though, so you're more comfortable getting in there and getting amongst it with them because you know who they are and you know the people. Whereas random guy on the street, you don't know him from Adam, so you're not really going to get involved with that. But I wouldn't pass out or anything. But I'm not really. I wouldn't really want to see someone bleeding out on the side of the street either. But it comes with the territory, I guess. So it's good, but no.
What got you started with wrestling? And it's really funny you mentioned Terry Funk because when I ran a promotion, he did like Texas bull rope matches. Is that something you like that you get intrigued by as well?
Texas bull rope matches, Texas death matches, where you have to. I think it adds another layer to the match itself. So it's like these sorts of gimmicks and things, and when you're doing the story of a show and you're trying to tell a story, yeah, it's great. You could tell so many stories in the matches that are bell to bell, one fall, one submission, one knockout, pin count out, DQ, whatever, and you've got so many there. But when you add another stipulation like a bull rope, where you have to touch four corners, or you have the Texas death match where you have to score a pinfall and then count to 10. You know what I mean? Answer the 10 count after the pinfall. It's like nobody really does that stuff anymore, but it's such a lost art when you watch it back and you see people like Terry Funk, Dory Funk doing these matches. You're like, well, it's amazing. Do you know what I mean? It's amazing to watch because the stories they tell, it's so real. That's what got me into it a lot is like the All Japan stuff because it's so real when you're watching Stan Hansen, Terry Gordy, and Bruiser Brody and Terry Funk just going out and beating the shit out of each other for 20 minutes. And I think that's sort of the stuff that I would watch and go, hold on a second. I enjoy this a lot more than I enjoy. I respect the athleticism in it, but the flippy dippy stuff I'll never do, and I'll never be able to do it, given the fact that I'm 6'6" and I'm 400 odd pounds. But this sort of stuff, I can go out and hit people and get hit. I'm big enough to get hit, so let's go do that. And that's what I sort of adapted to do, and it's sort of, but that's what got me into that. But Terry Funk's rest his soul is great. He's one of the inspirations for me. That's where I got the branding iron and stuff. I got a branding iron and stuff that I carry out for.
Yeah.
I got that from Terry. A lot of my stuff is I've got ponchos and everything made. See what it is that Terry has. I have my trunks are Dusty Roads sort of. I wear like orange polka dots and red polka dots, so it's sort of to Dusty Roads. I didn't want to go yellow polka dots, but I wanted to do a nod to him where it was such a thing because I do like the gritty sort of cowboy esque, but I do deathmatch shows, but I also do 18 plus shows. I also do family shows, so it's you can't do the same sort of style of wrestling on a deathmatch show or on an 18 plus show as you do on a family show, and that's where the sort of stuff comes with the rodeo time and riding people on the ropes with my cowboy hat on and stuff like that. So I still do that in the death matches, but it's just a little laugh. But when you do it on the family shows, it gets the reaction from the crowd and things like that. So it's good. But yeah, I mean Terry Funk for me is one of the goats. Do you know what I mean? There's so many out there for different reasons that people always say he was the greatest of all time. But Terry Funk could do it all, and there's nobody can really. When you have that discussion, he's always up there for me anyway. Him and Stan Hansen's up there as well. Terry Gordy, Dory Funk. There's a lot of them up there that I sort of like Dusty Rhodes, everyone. That era, that sort of era is my go to when I want to chill out on a night and watch wrestling. That's what I watch. I don't really watch anything nowadays.
Whenever it's around. Terry was really a nice person, by the way, just in general, so respectful. Like Kevin Sullivan as well. And Kevin was never what I expected him to be. Like when he came into work for me, when I had a company, he was so nice. Like, he'd get to the arena early. Hey, do you need help with anything? Can I help you with anything? It's like, no, you're talent. I'm not going to ask you to do anything. But yet he'd go out and get everyone sandwiches. And Dusty Rhodes was another lovely person. And just going through these photos, like from that time of when they worked with me, and then the Texas bull rope, I thought of you because I see you with the bull rope at the shows, and it looks like so much fun. I've never like lassoed anyone in my life. I mean, I'd like to
Still
try it
time.
one day.
Still time. We can do it when you're here.
Yeehaw.
There you go.
Now, is your family supportive of what you do? Because I hear so many different stories. Like, some people have a lot of support from their family, like some people don't.
So I've got my partner, my kids, these and that, and they're all very supportive. They have to be because I'm always away wrestling, weekends away, and doing everything busy all week, and then the free time I have, I spend wrestling. So and my girlfriend, she sums it up. My fiance, so she sums it up by saying, as much as I don't want you away every weekend, I know that if you were here, as much as you love spending time with me and the boys, you would be thinking, I want to wrestle. And it's not you. You want to wrestle. Do you know what I mean? That's what makes me happy. That's what makes me me. So she's very supportive in that, even though she's not really a fan of wrestling. I think my little boys like it, but they like it till they're old enough that they'll either grow out of it or get involved with it. So it's yeah, but it's supportive they are. You cannot fault them really for the amount of sacrifices they make. Events that I miss, birthdays I miss, stuff like that. I normally do a tour of Scotland between Christmas and New Year, which is sort of like a family time, but I'm away. Do you know what I mean? And it's sometimes they come with me. Sometimes it's not possible if you have a car full of guys. So it is hard, but at the same time, there's never really a. It's either me or wrestling. There's never any of that sort of stuff, which is good because I know a lot of guys tend to get that, and that's why a lot of relationships fail. But I've got a good one, so she looks after me. So it's and she just says just do what you want as long as you do it safely and you come home. So that's that's what you want.
I've seen enough accidents in the past 2 years. I think the worst one was 2 years, actually. Yeah, 2 years in a row. Fire spots going bad.
Yeah, I mean it's I do use fire a bit in my matches, but I've always I'm very outdoorsy and very fire safety and fire conscious and things like that. So for me, it's like I know the types of fuel to use. I consult people that I know who do fire eating and tricks with fire and stuff like that. So I know for like some paraffin, you won't put paraffin out with water because it just spreads it. You need to use sand or something to kill the oxygen to it. And I think a lot of people who do these stunts don't sort of. Don't get me wrong, stuff goes wrong. Do you know what I mean? There's always that
Yeah.
risk involved, but I think there's a lot of stuff that can be avoided if people do educate themselves. If you want to use fire, yeah, fire's cool, but make sure you educate your stuff to know if this goes wrong, this is what we need to have close by to very much rectify what goes wrong. Obviously, you see sometimes, and obviously it does happen. That guy got set on fire before. Obviously, it's a thing that they had the fire extinguisher on. It took time to get there, but again, you'd always say you need to stop, drop, and roll, not run around and feed oxygen to the flames. But again, when you're in that situation, you panic, and that's what sort of happens there. You panic and you run around and you hurt yourself. But luckily, it wasn't. It could have been a lot worse. So luckily, he's on the mend. So he'll be back soon, and he's selling merch, doing it. So he's making money off it. So he may as well make something while he's sitting in hospital. But I just think sometimes it's you have to look at the squeeze and the juice. Is the squeeze worth the juice? Is it worth the risk? What you're putting there, what you're doing now, is controlled. Is it everything I've done with fire? It's been branded Iron Spot, where I had one of my best friends branded me, Lou Nixon. So it's like he's holding it. He knows. Do you know what I mean? What we're doing. We've sort of rehearsed it in a way. He knows the whole motion. He knows what he needs to do to get rid of it. Then we did the fireworks, which again ran through it earlier on. Knows what we're going to do with it. Knows what the set is. knows that if it gets out of hand, put it up in the air. Don't just throw it on the floor. Do you know what I mean? And then there's obviously the drop toe hold into the fire pits. And again, it's outside. It's controlled. As long as you're in and out quickly, you're doing it safe. I only wrestle in trunks and knee pads. I don't wear t-shirts, jeans, or anything like that. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's like doing fire and stuff. It's a bit more safer because I don't have that shirt to catch fire, and I don't have that thing to catch fire. I don't have something I could spill fuel on. So it's like that for me. It's the only thing I've got to worry about is my mustache. Can't singe that because that's how I. Without that, I lose all my powers. It's like Samson. If I lose my mustache, I've lost everything. So I need to keep my mustache in my hat. As long as I have that, I'm good to go. Everything else can go. It's just the mustache I need to keep. So
You got to keep the wrestling superpowers and the charisma, so that
that's it.
mustache
That's it.
cannot go.
The mustache can't go because it's the look, isn't it? That's what makes you stand out, makes you look different than everybody else. So it maintaining it for every other time when you're not at a wrestling show and you're walking around the street, you get compliments. People go, "That's a nice mustache," and you go, "Thank you." Then you get free coffees everywhere in Movember because everyone thinks you do in Movember. So it's like free coffee. I'm thinking, "Thank you, sir." And like, that's a cracking mustache. I think, "Thank you," but. Yeah, I mean, as I say, it's one of those things. Fire is dangerous, though, but obviously people know that anyway. But it's always a risk involved, and that's what you have to look at. We'll often say, like when we're talking about doing something, you have to look at weigh up the risk. How good is it going to be? What's the visual going to look like when you do it? Because it's pointless doing something really dangerous if people can't really see what's happening. Do you know what I mean? So you have to look at the
Hmm.
visual. How is it going to look? And then look at is the risk worth the reward from it? So is the risk what you're taking for that visual, for that, is it worth it? And when you look at something, you go, I could do this, and I reckon I could do this safely, and I could do it safely, but this is how I need to do it. This is the way I need to lay it out to do it safely. Then happy days, you can get it done. But if you just go out and people go, just give me some lighter fluid and some matches, and then they go out and do stuff with fire, obviously that sort of stuff's going to go wrong because there's no planning involved. There's no sort of thought process behind it. There's no safety measures taking place. It's just guys going, "Oh, we'll just light it on fire. That'll be cool, won't it?" And it's like, well, how are you going to put it out? I don't know. We'll worry about that. We're out there, and well, that's not going to work, is it? So it's. But it's the same thing with like flaming chairs and stuff like that. It's sort of you light it, you wrap the t-shirt, you light it, you hit someone with it, you get rid of it, you get it out of the ring. You don't lay it on the canvas. You just say drop it on the canvas and you do it. And you go and you're laying it on another. And you're just thinking, what are you doing? Just throw it, or give it to someone outside the ring to get rid of it. You don't need to put. And I think in the nowadays where everyone wants to go viral and people are trying to go
Hmm.
viral, there's always that desire to outshine people. But I think you've always, even on deathmatch shows, and this is a big thing that I'll tell people here because I've been wrestling 20 years, but I've only been doing death matches now since earlier this year. So it's like sort of, and I think for me it was always been knowing your place on the card. So you know that if you're on early doors, you're not going out to brawl in the crowd, and you're not going to do this, that, and the other. You're going to keep it structured, well structured match. Do what the promoter tells you to do, and go out and do that. And too many people here don't get taught to go out and have that match for that place on the card. And every match is a main event match. So by the time the main
Mm.
event comes around, people are burnt out because they've just seen 9 main events. But it's not what they want to see it build up. So I think when you have that sort of breakdown, and even in deathmatch shows, you know for a fact that if you're on a show and someone's doing a massive gimmick or a massive blow off to a feud at the end of the night, yeah, you're going to go and do your bit to give someone a few highlights for the reel, but you're not going to go out purposely to outshine said main event because you know the main event's the main event for a reason. That's why they're there. They're there because they're blowing off this feud, or they're there because they're doing this big gimmick with a lot of risk. And you have to give those guys respect then to say, they're doing this, there's a lot of risk involved. We'll do this, this, and this. We'll give them their night to shine. And next month, You might be main event and they do the same for you. And I think it's that support that you need rather than everyone going out trying to be like, well, how do I do this? Because people don't care about your wins, losses. Do you know what I mean? People don't care
Mm-hmm.
about that. You don't need to go over to get over. But you do need to be able to know your place in the card that the promoter has your back. And if you have, like, I've had people in the past where I've said, all right, I do a lariat for a finisher. I'm very protective of my lariat.
Uh-huh.
So appreciate if the matches before me don't do it because I'm going over for the title in the main event for the lariat, blah, blah, blah. Killing the business, exposing the business here. And then the matches before you have 10 belt shots, 3 interferences, 2 heel turns, this, that, the other, 5 lariats, 6 power bombs on the outside, everything like that.
Ugh.
And then they come backstage, you going, all right, now I'm going to go out and have the main event, and you've left me nothing to do that's going to be different from what they've already seen, except I'll do it better than what you did. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you look
Oh
at it
yeah.
going, but I've told you not to do this. I've asked you not to do this. And then you tell the promoters, and the promoters go, I'll have a word. And then the next month and the month after, it's the same thing. You go, it just doesn't get through to people. And that's a frustrating thing. There's a lot of green people. And you'll realise this when you come to the UK. The UK is a great place. The deathmatch scene in the UK is great. It's so
Yeah.
supportive, so brilliant. You got Big Joe, Lou, Darvo, Caden, Daniel Dottie, Iceman, Jack. Everybody for me is like they're like one big family. Everyone loves each other. Everyone supports each other. Everyone promotes the merchandise. Everything like that. Everybody looks after everybody. And then you've got the the other side of the wrestling, which is the family shows. And you would
Mm-hmm.
think when you have death matches and people are going out and cutting each other and bleeding, there'll be more heat and aggro and that. But then you go to the family shows where people are having fun, should be having fun, and they're like
Yeah.
at each other's throats or stealing each other's shit or trying to go to promoters and say, "Oh, don't book him, book me," and you're going, "But why? Why get involved with that? Just
They
leave
do
it."
that here.
So
They do that here all
they
the
do it
time.
everywhere. When I
But
was in
that's not somewhere
Canada,
you
they
want to
do it in
work.
Canada as well. No, but that's it. That's what I say to people. It's like you go there and it's like all this sort of toxicity, and that's what I say to Lou all the time. Is like you got to look at these places you go and say, is it really worth it? Is the payday worth it? Go and sit here and be treated like this or talked to like this or anything like that. So we tend to go and do that. We do a lot of shows together. We travel all the time together. It's always me and Lou because we live close together. We're on the same shows, so we're always up and down the country together. We're doing shows now together, but obviously you do a lot of good shows. And you do some shows and you go, that wasn't great. But sometimes the guy you're working is a bit of a dick, or if it's anything like that, and you just go in and you're trying to work with some young guy who wants to do 1,000 big spots, and because
Ugh.
that's his one match this month, and he wants to get all of his shit in because he doesn't have any other bookings. And you go, well, I've got 3 shows this weekend, so I don't really want to go out and kill myself on a Friday night for when I've got 2 more shows because you've got a month to recover, and I've got a few hours that I'm back on the road. So it's like by the time I get home, and you tell these guys, you try to explain to them that like it's not about your bump count and things like that, your bump card and things. You try to explain the stuff that was explained to me when I first started. And nowadays, it's like everyone knows best. Like nobody wants to listen to people anymore. Nobody wants to go, oh, well, this guy has been around. I should listen to him. They just want to do what they want to do. And even when your ideas and you're putting stuff forward, because I'm 40 now, so I know
Oh.
for me it's like I'm there to put people, to help people out, put people over, things like that, and help the younger guys go up and educate them on stuff that I've learned, the mistakes I've made. And I think when you have these young guys who just don't want to listen, you're just like, nobody wants to listen. It's just like, what's the point? But then you get other people out there who are generally good kids who want to listen, good guys who are just starting out who want to listen, who come to you and say, oh, can you help me with this? I've had this idea for this match. Can you run through this with me? Or can you help me with this? And you're going, yeah, of course I can. And then you help them with it. And they're very grateful for it. Then you have others that aren't. But I think it's the same with wrestling across the world. No matter where you go, you find these people who will know best. And what you'll find in 7 to 8 years' time when they get wise, they'll come back and be like, yeah, I should have probably listened to you. So there's a reason why there's a lot of these guys who were wrestling when I started who are still going today. and other guys who knew best career lasts 7 years, and then they're
Mm.
out and they're gone, they've disappeared because they've come in and they've killed themselves and they've broke the back or they hurt the neck or they can't do it anymore because their knees are gone because they've did everything in the space of 7 years. And it's sad to see, but at the same time, if people don't want to listen to the guys who come before them, you're never going to get you're never going to get better, and you're never going to have that longevity to your career.
Are you looking for a safe way to bet online where there is something for everyone, including yourself? Then go to betonline.ag, where I am sure you will find something. Don't forget, it's betonline.ag for the most variety and the safest way to bet online. It's also a matter of ring psychology. I had this conversation with Brian Kendrick once before Spanky. I went to an AEW show, and I respect Tony Khan for, giving the guys work,
Yeah,
right? But you have too many people that are spot monkeys doing everything. And then I've worked shows where I was working with Necro Butcher, and then some younger guy is telling us what to do. I'm like, we're veterans and you need to know your
yeah,
spot. You don't go in there telling someone like Necro Butcher, hey, so we're going to do this, this, and this. No, it doesn't work that way. You need to shut up
no,
and listen and show some respect. And too many of these younger kids come in there with a shit ton of gimmicks and light tubes and this and that, that by the time it's the main event, what are we going to do now? Snuff each other out with guns or
yeah,
something? And
well,
it's
exactly.
just one thing I've noticed about the British people, including yourself, Leo, and Lou, is everyone gets the psychology of things. So I'll probably come back for another Bleeding Gum show September 14th, but I get like what the
Yeah,
psychology is with things and how these guys want to space things out. And I think that it's all around in England or the UK. I think things were always better and made more sense. Even when I went to school there as a kid,
yeah.
things seem so much better educational wise, and it shows why you have great wrestlers there. Now, did you ever have aspirations of wanting to be in the WWE, or did you just want to go out there and work where you could and have fun?
Well, my aspirations where I grew up in a town of 3,000 people is I just want to be a wrestler. So this is what I'll always say to people: is I always just want to be a pro wrestler. That's it. And I'll always say, some people say he's a great wrestler, and some people say he's a shit wrestler. But they're always saying I'm a wrestler, so I've already achieved what I want to achieve. It doesn't matter what they think of me. That's just what I want to do. I mean, obviously, you look at it, and the WWE is always the dream because that's what you grew up watching, and that's what you grew up doing. But for me, it was sort of when I got involved with wrestling and started trading tapes and watching the deathmatch stuff and watching the stuff from Japan and watching the stuff from Puerto Rico and things
Mm.
like this. That is where, for me, that I went, that's probably more suitable for where I want to go, what I want to do, than the WWE. But, I mean, I spent a lot of time, I was very lucky early on in my career to spend a lot of time with Tracy Smothers when he
Yeah.
was here touring. So I got to learn a lot from Tracy when he was here. And like the stuff that helped me there was that was whole sort of, I've already had respect because I was trained properly, and I was trained to sort of, we used to go and pay our dues and go and ride in the back of a van for 7 hours, set up the ring, do security on the show, bring the ring back to the lockup, put the ring away, and not get a penny for it. And that was sort of the way you did it, to get to show your respect for the business and stuff like that. And I was glad to do it. Do you know what I mean? I love to do it, so it didn't really bother me. And I think you look at it now, it's everyone thinks it's like working, paying your dues. They look at it as beneath them. Do you know what I mean? And doing stuff like this. So you turn up to a show and they go, "Oh, we're doing the ring, or we need the ring up quickly." And you're like, I don't mind giving a hand with the ring. I'll always help if I can. If I'm there early enough, I'll help set the ring up and stuff like that. But then you've got a lot of these young guys who think they're, because they've got a belt on them, they think they're the champ, and they don't do this or they don't do that. And they come in with their girlfriends or their friends and they sit around all the time and they do all this. And I always used to say, like, back in the day when I was first starting out, if something was shit, you could tell someone, that's fucking shit, don't do that. And you would go, all right, this is how you improve it. And you tell them how to improve it, and then you go out next time you do it, it's better. But like nowadays, it's like you can't say to someone, that's rotten, don't do that, because it looks bad, it doesn't look good. And there's too much risk involved, it doesn't look good. They're going to go out and do it anyway. And you go, well, there's no risk, there's no benefit to you doing this. You just put yourself at risk, and
Hmm.
it looks fucking shit. So why are you doing it? and they just go, well, I like to do it. So it's like, well, that's all that matters, because the paying punters pay to come watch you do something you like to do. They don't come here to be entertained. They just want to see you do something you like to do. And it's like, you look at them and you go like, but it's like talking to a wall, because you're never going to get through to them. And because it's like so many training schools here where people don't know what they're doing, and it's thinking, and people don't get better. So like when I first started out, I was trained by Iceman over here
Oh,
in the UK.
okay.
So
Yeah.
Iceman trained me, and I did training here with Iceman, and it was so there was a group of us that came up together, and a lot of us were still going until the last recent few years. There's two of us left now, but for me it was like we were showing respect for the business, and then I got in with like the Knight family, who's Paige's dad and mother and their family down at WAW in Norwich, and I do a lot of work for them and I wrestle for them, and I'm good friends with the family. And them again, like they're very old school, like sort of respect for the business, respect for the vets, the people who came before you and stuff like that. And when I'm around a lot of these guys, I don't see myself as a veteran. Like, you know what I mean? There were
Hmm.
people who are far more experienced than me. I'm still the shy guy. I'm just gonna shut up and listen. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
I'm not gonna open my mouth until I'm said, oh, what do you want to do, or what do you think? And then I'll tell you what I think. But other than that, I'm just like, whatever you say, we do, we do. And that's the way it is. Whatever you tell me to do, I'm doing. It's fine, you know, and it's, but I think that's lost nowadays, where people don't
Yeah.
learn the craft anymore because they don't shut up and listen. So it's like when I was wrestling, like I was lucky enough to wrestle Tracy Smothers on a few occasions, and what I've learned from those matches was you could do 3 years in a training school, and I've probably learned more in those two matches than what you do at a training school, because he was so switched on with what you do and the movements and the timing, slowing stuff down, and you don't realize it at the time because you're like, oh, I need to do this, or we're trying to do this, and your head's thinking, oh, where do I go? What's happening next? What's happening next? He's like, you've got to be in the moment now and slow the stuff down, let the people see what's happening. Like, so it's fair enough. You got to create that gap between you and the guy, so people can see the motion, see the movement, see the emotion in the fighting and stuff. And it's like things like that. It always sticks with you. Like cutting promos, like don't shit on the guy you're
Yeah.
wrestling, because then if you beat him, this, and too many times I see guys now, especially heels, will come out and they'll try to be funny because they want to be liked still. And I was thinking, but you're not being a heel then because people like you. So it defeats the purpose. You're just trying to be cool and be laugh. People go, oh, he's funny. I like him, he's funny. And it's like, well, they're not supposed to like you. Your job's not to be liked. If you want to be liked, be a face. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's like, they'll come out, they'll try to. That's the two things that are lost: is the heels trying to be funny and trying to be cool, and other heels don't know how to show their ass. Meaning, be looked the fool. They're worried about being looked the fool. They take themselves too seriously. Whereas again, like, yeah, you want to protect yourself, but if
Hmm.
you're supposed to put the baby face over and make him look like he's outsmarted you, or as he's done something, then you're gonna have to make yourself look a bit stupider than what he is, so he gets that upper hand on you, or he
Yeah.
outsmarts you. And too many people are afraid to do that because they don't want to be seen as, oh well, he outsmarted me. And it's just saying, you look at it, go, well, what do you want to do then? What is it? What is it you're trying to? What's the story? Because I don't understand it. 20 years in the business, and I'm struggling to understand it. What the fucking chances the fans have to understand what you're putting on, because they don't. And but it's like
Sorry, I'm
it's
laughing.
no, it's
No,
fine. You
it's
get
I'm
people.
sorry.
It's like,
It's just
but
funny.
it's
I'm
like
sorry. Okay.
it is funny, but I laugh. I'll always look at people. And me and Lou have always have this saying where we'll say in the show, we'll sit in the car after the show or on the way to the show, knowing what's planned or knowing what's booked for us, and go, well, this is what I would do if I was booking this show. I'd have this, this, and this, and I'd put him with him because that'd be a good match. I'd do this and this, and then we always would just finish it with, "But fuck me, what do I know?" Because that's all you can say. Because there's nothing. They don't want to listen, so you just say, "Fuck me, right? What do I know?" Because it's like nobody wants to listen to you. Nobody wants to go, "Oh, why don't we lean on the guys with experience?" You have too many
Yeah.
fans booking shows that don't really know their ass from their elbow, and they don't want to get. It was like I seen a podcast recently before, and the guy says it's guys coming in and running shows that shouldn't be running shows, and they're not hiring a guy to book it or promote the show. they're just coming in themselves and going, well, I'm paying the money, so I want to play Booker. And it's a video game, and they just book a show, and then the crowd come in, and the crowd go, what the fuck is this? And then they never come back again. Or he gets lucky and he gets a couple of people that come to see the people. Like I've had times where I've turned up to shows and I was told to cash in and win a title. But I've never won a cash in thing ever. And I was saying, but like,
Mm-hmm.
what am I doing? So it's like, and me and Lou were on the show. We had about a bunch of people coming to the show because me and Lou were on the show. And we go out and he's like, oh, there, you've got 3 minutes, you've got 3 minutes. And it's like, so I'm going out here. We drove 4 and a bit hours.
Jesus
And I was
Christ.
thinking, and it's like, and I'm going out for 3 minutes on the show. I was like, what's the fucking point? I'm cashing in and pinning someone. I'm cashing in something that I didn't even win, that I don't have any sort of, I have nothing to cash in. It's like, what am I cashing in? It's like, there's
No, I
nothing,
get it.
I haven't won anything to cash in. It's like, but it is what it is, and this is the sort of thing. And then you go to the promoter after, and you say, well, that was a load of bullshit. And I just say, I'd rather you just leave me at home. Because I said, I come here and people have come to see me and travelled an hour, and they've paid their money to see me wrestle and see Lou
Mm-hmm.
wrestle and see us do it. We had no time. We didn't do any of our stuff. Like any of the few bits that we do, we never even did a match. We didn't do anything. I'd rather go out and lose to a trainee and put a trainee over and put someone like that over than have a match with them and have do something so the fans can at least see you wrestle. Then go out and win something that made no sense whatsoever. Where do I go
Yeah, I
from
mean,
here?
there's a whole difference. I mean, you and I could go on for hours about this because I'm all about the storytelling and timing and psychology. So one thing people don't know is that I actually can wrestle. I trained to actually work matches. My first match was against Sherry Martel. Now, I think it's important for managers to know how to work because you need to know like what these spots are called. Because when you're going over a match with wrestlers, like, after being a manager, when you're going through matches with wrestlers, you want to know what those spots are called and you want to know what it is. So when it's in the match, what does it look like? What does a suplex look like? What does a lariat look like? What does a leg
Yeah,
drop look like? Whatever it is. So you know that your timing is there. And I know in ECW, like we went through stuff so none of the managers ever got hurt, but you know what to do so you don't get hurt, but accidents happen.
yeah,
Steve Regal trained me briefly in Memphis when I worked for Jerry Lawler, and that's when I really learned the crux of things before going to Mondo Guerrero. Some of the managers I looked up to growing up, of course, Sherry Martel, Miss Elizabeth, and Missy Hyatt. And Missy Hyatt and I became really good friends,
yeah.
despite the really big rib I pulled on her. But she got me back. So I heard you play ribs, by the way.
I do, yeah, I do,
Well,
I
wait a
do.
second. What's the most
It's
outstanding rib you've pulled? And Alton Thorne told me this when I was going off on him earlier.
what's that?
What did
Why?
you
Why
do?
did he tell you this? It's hard to say because I know the guy who's going to
There's
watch
got to be
this,
the
and
one
I
that
don't
sticks
think
out.
he doesn't know he's been ribbed yet. It's still ongoing as it is, and if I say now what's
Okay,
happening,
don't, because we're gonna wait for
he'll
that.
watch
That's
it.
gonna be up there. Okay,
He'll
yeah,
watch it. He'll watch it. But I'll tell you guys about it when we stop recording. But just it's still ongoing. It's great.
okay. Don't.
I love it. But it's
Well,
he'll
we
not.
won't say
But
anything about it, but I'll tell you this. I made Missy Hyatt drive 5 hours once. We were working 2 weeks before that, and we were doing something in the ring. She was messed up on gimmicks or whatever, and she almost hurt me. So a few weeks went by, and I said, hey, I'm in Fort Lauderdale. Can you come drive down? Because I don't have anyone to work with on this show. There was a show, but I just wasn't booked on it. She drove from Tampa to Fort. So the payback, the receipt was she gave Gene Simmons my phone number from Kiss. I like
yeah,
Kiss, but I'm just not into old Jewish men with hair pieces
yes,
and liver spots.
he's got a
So
big tongue though, hasn't he?
great, good for him. He's just not cute and he's old. So he was stalking me till like 4 in the morning on my phone. He wouldn't stop calling. Then he found out what hotel I was staying at. I had to switch rooms with my assistant then. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, okay, you got me good on that. We're good. Like now we're square.
Or
So if
even,
you're
or
gonna
even.
one up a rib, I think that's the one you gotta one up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's probably not. It's an ongoing one. So it's many layers to this rib, but it's the. I'll tell you
I'll
about
beat
it
his ass
after.
for you. How's that? I'll go beat his ass. I'll whip out a Singapore cane, and I get protective of that. I worked on a show last year, and everyone knows I use the cane, right? So I have an art to it. People think because of my frame, I'm not gonna. I can hit really light, which is wrong. I lay it in. So some girl who popped up on the show to walk a wrestler out. She had no clue. Never was a valet. Never a manager. She used a cane. I'm like, who the fuck is this? Right. And she didn't know how to use it or anything like that. So it irks me when people use, I'm one of those people. I know I shouldn't
Yeah,
be, and
I'm
I've
like
got to
that.
like
I'm like that
outgrow
with a
that.
lariat. I'm like that with a
Yeah.
lariat. People go, why don't you throw a line? I'll duck a line. I said, I'm not throwing lines and ducking lines. I go, well, that's, so it was a lariat's my finish. So if my hit ratio, my conversion on swinging and missing is so bad that I'm swinging at you 5, 6 times a match and I can't hit you, it makes me look shit. So I said, I'm going to probably miss one, and the next one I hit you with. And if I miss one, that's probably where we're going into the finish. It's not going to be me missing one and then me missing another and hitting one. And nobody's ever kicked out of it. So nobody ever kicks out of it apart from Lou. I let Lou kick out of it. But nobody else has ever kicked out of it. And I think that's like very, very protective over that. I say if I hit it, it's over. So when people do finally kick out of it, it actually means something, opposed to like just me hitting it and people kicking out of it just because it's a near fall. So why the fuck's the point? It's not really a finisher. It's like I'm also big on the psychology of finisher moves, where like people don't tease a finish move the whole match. And I say, well, it's not your finisher, it's your last move, because your finisher is something. I said, take Jake the Snake for example. He'll do the DDT straight away, early doors. He'll hook the DDT, the back aisle, powder, escape. Oh no, none of that. And then every time he's coming back in the match, he'll hook the DDT and they'll draw him into the post, or he'll hook the DDT and the guy will reverse it or get out of it. And then eventually he fires up, hits a short arm, clothesline, hit DDT, singles it, hits it, and then it's over, it's done. But he's already teased the DDT, so when you hit the DDT, it gets a pop.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just hit a DDT out of nowhere, nobody gives a fuck, because you haven't built anything around that DDT. It means nothing. And this is what people don't understand. That's what frustrates me so much. That I feel like grabbing people and be like, just fucking listen. Stop doing what you're doing. It doesn't make any sense. But then it's like, well, what's the point? And poor Lou gets this in the car as we travel every week, and 4 or 5 hours in the car, me ranting. Just fucking listen. Come on. Lou listens, but like, the
He won't
guys on the
do.
show, you're like, like he doesn't listen. He doesn't fucking listen at all. You're like, I'm done. I'm done with him.
Do you want to spice things up in the bedroom? Well, go to adamandeve.com where you can get something for yourself or that special someone. Adamandeve.com and put in the code Krazy Train, that's crazy with a K, and get 50% off of most items and a bunch of free goodies. Again, it's adamandeve.com and put in my code Krazy Train, it's crazy with a K, and enjoy up to 50% off of most items and, of course, some great freebies. Have you ever had anyone that didn't sell? Because I feel as though, okay, so we had a spot, I was working with Necro on a show, and this guy just wasn't selling for Necro. So he fed him to me, and I made him sell because at the cane, it wasn't, I didn't loosen it very much. So when I cracked him pretty hard a few times,
Yeah.
then he sold. But it's such a disrespectful, and it takes away from the entertainment value of the
Yeah.
moves. Did you ever have someone that didn't feel like selling for your
I
finisher?
mean, selling for my finisher, that's no. People will pretty much, I always lay it in pretty hard anyway. And I always say it's the last thing you're going to take, so you're all right. It's going to be done safely. It's gonna hit you, but you are going to feel it. There's nothing really to sugarcoat it. But I mean, it's for me. It's like I think a lot of people sell too much as a big guy. I think it's like big guys going 50-50 on trade-offs with guys who are like the size of their leg. And you're going, where's the sense in that? It doesn't make sense. So, like, sometimes I'll sell for anyone, but I'll want them to work for me to sell. So I'm not just going to be, like, standing there. Like, don't get me wrong, if you're in there with someone like Necro Butcher or someone, a veteran or someone like that, you bump and feed, you do whatever they want you to do. You do whatever you can, you know what I mean, to make it look good and things like that. But I think when you're in there with, like, the younger guys, and sometimes the shit don't break an egg, you're thinking, how can you throw this flimsy ass shit at me and expect me to go, oh, you've hurt me? Because it's not hurting anyone. Like, it's not even. And I always say to people, it's like, as long as you hit me hard, but hit me hard in safe places, learn to work properly on these bigger shows, on the deathmatch shows, on the 18 plus shows. The family shows you can get away with it to a degree because people don't expect you to go out and kill each other. But like, I'll still lay in the chops, and the guys will go, well, if you hit me with a chop, I'll hit you with one back. And I go, well, good, that's what I want. That's what we need, you know what I mean? I hit you, you hit me back. The crowd will go up for it because they hear the big noise. But I said, tomorrow you'll be all right. I want to feel it when I'm out there. I don't want to feel it tomorrow. And that's what I'll have to say to people. I said, I don't care. Like, just make me feel it when I'm there. And everything else is good. But I think it's just the no selling for me. It's both a give and a take. Sometimes you're out there and you feel if this guy's not hitting me, or if he's not making any, if he's not hitting me, but not like, if it doesn't look good what he's doing, if I start selling, it just looks worse. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
But like, if you're in there with someone who knows what they're doing, then like, I know Jake the Snake, when he was on tour over here, he was throwing punches, go back to Jake, and he'd like just nip you. Like, this was back when he was drinking as well, and he was like, had a 2 litre bottle of Famous Grouse, and he was throwing punches in the locker room, showing us how to do punches. And he would hit you, and he would just drop just as he grazed you, so you felt it. But all you'd feel is like a little tick on the chin, and you're going, like, but it looked good. So if you're in a match with him, obviously you're going to sell that.
Yeah.
But if somebody goes out and throws flimsy ass, little like weak ass forearms at you, you're like, what do you want me to do with that if you barely touch me? Like, what am I supposed to do with that? At 6'6", 400 odd pound, like, you're gonna phase me with that? Probably not.
You could laugh at them if you want.
I do sometimes.
I think what you need, I think what we have to do with you is when you're out here for Brand X Wrestling, X Brand Wrestling, I think what we have to do is see if Necro Butcher is running a show in Amarillo that weekend, or the week that you and Lou are out here for they're going to be out here for WrestleMania, by the way, guys. So you'll definitely catch them at my table at the booth signing, but they have a bunch of shows, so just keep up on the socials. I think we're going to have to get you to Amarillo, Texas to work a Texas Bull Rope match, like in Amarillo. So if he has shows, so I'm going to speak to him. Huh?
I'd be done then. I'd be like, everything's done. Completed. Wrestling. Completed.
I have to make this happen for you. I have to make it happen because I know one person that runs shows there, and that's Necro Butcher, who runs OXW Wrestling now since his accident. So I feel as though I need to get you on that show somehow. We have to make this happen. I have to see what he has coming up, and I will fulfill your dream of working, there. Yeah, I have to make this happen now, because it just seems like it's like the stars are aligned for that.
It would be good. It would be nice. I love Texas as well. Texas is lovely. Barbecue
I could tell
as well. So it's go and get some barbecue, have a Texas Bull Rope match. There we go. It's a winner. Everything's for a legend. It's all on for a winner, exactly. In honor of a legend. So it would be good.
Now, if people want to find your socials, because I love your merchandise, by the way. He has, for the ladies listening, he has really cool bikinis, by the way.
I do.
You guys are really good with your merchandise, with Deathmatch Outlaws and everyone.
Yeah.
How do people find your merchandise if they want to buy stuff? And how do they keep up with you on socials? Because you always have stuff going on.
Yeah, if you go on the socials, it's Mr. Tim Strange across everything. That's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. It's
Mm.
Mr. Tim Strange. My merchandise is Unforgettable Vision. That's the guy who does my Wayne Dennison. He's a designer who does all that and runs the shop for me. So he's got that set up. He's got a number of wrestlers, about 10 wrestlers on it. Myself and Lou have a lot of merchandise there that we'll put up, and we've got towels, everything from towels, bikinis, to shorts, to vests, to coffee mugs, to handkerchiefs, everything. Whatever you could find, it's all on there. Anything to make money, anything that people could want to buy with Tim Strange logo on, you could have it on there. And if it's not there, just let me know and I'll get it for you. So whatever you need, we can get it. We can get it on there for you. So, but that's where you'd find me. Obviously, WrestleMania week, I'll be over in Vegas with Lou. So if you see me, come say hi. I'll either be in the suites or in the gutters, depending on how my bets go and how the matches go. But I'll be there anyway, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, what is it with you and Lou? You guys like it's almost like you're attached at the hip, because he kept talking about
Yeah,
you when we were at WrestleMania this year. He wouldn't
I
stop.
can't talk about Lou that much on podcasts anymore because what
Oh
happens is
Jesus.
they do this thing where they cut out clips. And this guy, I did a podcast for a guy, and he cut out a load of clips, and he put up a clip a day for like a week. But like he cut out a bit of it was like where we're talking about, oh, who do you travel with? What shows do you do? So the whole who travels with, what do I do? Is most of that was just talk about me and Lou on the road and stuff like that. So they had about 12 clips of this. So for 12 days straight, he dropped a clip of me just talking about Lou. And it was just like, I gotta stop talking about it because people are just going to be like, every day it's like, does he talk about anything other than Lou on his podcasts? Does he just sit there and be like, oh, well, Lou's my mate and we do stuff together. But yeah, I mean, me and Lou, I think it's actually we've only been close friends, I would say, for about a year and a bit now. But I think it's the hours and the time on the road that you spend together that
Yeah.
sort of for the last year and a half, me and him have been on the road pretty much every weekend together. Everyone, like, obviously he's not abroad or I'm not abroad, and every other weekend we're away. When we're on separate shows, it's like not the same. Do you know what I mean? You like your travel
Hmm.
companions. You know you are with certain people. We're both sort of like not quiet people, but like we like our space. So I think together we're good because not every minute in the car has to be filled with people talking. You can just
Hmm.
sit there and be quiet for a bit and have some music on and chill out. But I think that's sort of the thing. I mean, but he's a great guy as well. Like you kind of felt him. He's always been. He always looks out for me. He always helps me with stuff, with the deathmatch stuff. Because whereas I've been wrestling for 20 years, deathmatches are relatively new for me. Although always been a fan of them, it was never really a scene over here to get involved with.
Yeah.
And then when there was a scene, it had Joe and it had Lou and it had Caden and it had Darko, and it was those were the guys who did death matches, and there was so few shows. It was like those are the guys that do it. Let them have it because I'm wrestling every weekend anyway, and I don't need to get. Plus, why would you book me? You've never done a death match when you have 5, 6 guys who are very experienced in it. But then, as the scene grew and there's more promotions started doing it, you've seen people like Alton Thorne, Franco, people like that step up and start doing it as well. That's when I sort of went, if Alton Thorne can do it, I could do it. And then I
Exactly.
just got involved. You know what I mean? If he can do it, I can do it. And then we got involved with it through there. And then I did my first match in Lust for Death against Jack Harrop and Toynbee. And that was great. I got tattooed in that match. So that was fun. And then just got the bug for it from there and just went on and did as many as possible. Now I'll do anything, really. It's good fun.
Alton.
Good fun.
Yeah,
So
Alton's a
he's
bit
all
of a
right in small
weirdo.
doses.
Huh?
He is. He is. He's
Yeah,
all
he's
right
a
in small
weirdo. I don't
doses.
get him. It's like he like
Nobody
comes at
gets
me
him.
attacking me on Twitter or something about Franco,
Yeah.
and then it's like all this weird shit. Like seriously, I don't know what his
He's a bit of a
problem is.
weird guy.
Yeah. You have to rib
I
him
always
good
like
for
wind him
me.
up. But he just seems to me, he's like, if we were at high school, he'd be the guy that I'd bully. Do you know what I mean? That's where he fits in with me. And I look at him, he always tries to be mysterious and edgy, and it's like, you're just an idiot, you little freak. But he's all right, I guess. I don't like him that much, but
Yeah.
he's
If
all
this
right.
was high school, he'd be sitting in the corner by himself. He doesn't get to sit the
The
um
cool
with the
kids.
cool kids because there's nothing cool about him.
Now he sits in a dark room doing promos, crying to himself. Mm, for me, it's like, all right, I don't really talk to
Yeah.
the guy, but I only take the piss out of him or make fun of him on social media. That's all I do, just because it's fun to see him react. Because he reacts to it. So I did a video of him the other day taking the piss out of him because he likes stinger nettles. He plays with stinger nettles a lot. Uh, so that's his weapon of choice is nettles. So it's fun to
Got it.
see. But he's one to watch. Alton Thorne. But
Well,
yeah,
we'll see what he does next, but I look forward to seeing you next week on a Bleeding Gums. Thanks again.
yeah, we'll see you then.
And obviously, there'll be a lot more things coming up for you in the States and over there. And,
Yeah,
everyone keep up with him, Mr.
anywhere.
Tim Strange, on social media, right?
Thank you. Yes, and thank you for having me on.
I
It's
had to.
great. I know, but it's still nice of you to have me on.
I wanted to because I saw your cowboy gimmick. I'm like, wait a second. Like, I started looking at your stuff through Big Joe's page and
Yeah,
through that old guy, Lou, through his page. So it was just one of these things where, like, I've got to get him on the show because he's got such a cool gimmick. And plus, you're friends with Lou and them, and I knew that you were a good person.
yeah.
I got to get Big Joe. Like, that's the next thing that's so difficult to do, but it'll happen one of these days. Sit tight, and thanks for joining us today.